365 days. That's how much time I got. I have a year. I have a year before I ship out. On this day, a year from now, I'm gone to boot camp. I'll be in Great Lakes, Illinois, Chicago, doing boot camp. Then afterwards, dive school. A year from now, think about that. 1 year from now, I'll be gone, doing whatever. Away from my home, away from my family, my friends, everything. I'll be abandoning this life that I have right here. Everything around you, it's gonna be gone. All these walls, these pictures, these toys, this room, the color of everything, it's gone. It's gonna be set here, placed here, like a time capsule. I'll be gone for 6 years. This all started about, like, I'm gonna say kindergarten, and we'd always gather up in these groups. I'd be at daycare. At daycare, the teacher would gather us up and have us sit in the carpet. And one day, she'd always ask, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that question, it always hurt me for the longest time. I never knew why. It was such a deep, hard question, and I hated when it was asked. When people asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I hated that question so much. At the time, I wanted to be a superhero. I wanted to have my own superpower and save the whole city, save people with my superpower and feel so powerful and seen and have all the attention on me because I'm the superhero and I save people. I wanted to be a superhero for the longest time. I'd picture myself in like a yellow Superman costume, all buff and jacked with a yellow cape, flying around, doing whatever, my laser vision, slicing through vehicles and destroying villains and stuff. That's what I always imagined. And then one day the lady asked the question again, and then I thought to myself, man, I gotta be really realistic here. Nothing out of the ordinary. Like, actually, what do I want to do? So I thought, a soldier in the army. I want to be a soldier in the army. And, I kind of just stuck with it. That's kind of like what I thought about most of the time. There'd be ideas, a scientist, a professional football player, MMA champion, MMA fighter, stuff like that. It'd always pop up in my head all the time, but nothing stuck with me like being in the military. And then it came, it always just floated in my head most of the time. Is what I would do. I never really thought too much of it. And then, give or take, 7 years ago, I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2 with my father, my drunken father. I'm sitting on the couch, he's sitting over here. We're playing, we got controllers in hand, we're playing, we're on a mission. And at the time I was doing Taekwondo, and he knew about this. And he told me, you should join the Space Force. You should go in the Space Force and shoot aliens and shit. That'd be awesome. I thought it felt cool. That sounded awesome. Shooting up aliens in that foreign planet and just going to town shooting these dudes, bro. That'd be sick, dude. Just that idea stuck in my head. It just sounded so awesome. And so I thought, I'll join the Space Force. Shoot aliens and stuff. Right when it came out, Trump created a Space Force 2019, 2020. And, it seemed like this kind of thing that no one really talked about, and I wanted to be a part of it. And then I kind of shifted from that to being infantry in the Army, and my mom kind of talked me down about that long ago. She's like, no, you're not going to be in the battlefield. You're going to be a target for the enemy. You're going to have a target on your back and on your front. You're going to get shot at. You're going to be cannon fodder, basically. And so, and then she talked about, oh, what are you going to do after that? You get out of the Army, and you come out, and now you're in the civilian world. What are you going to do with that job? You were just a dude who shot people. You never really did anything else. What are you going to do after that? What's the point? What's the plan here? You're going to be a security guard, police officer? What's the point? What are you going to do? And I was like, yeah, you're right about that. I won't do that. And then I kind of like went back and forth, from I wanted to do Marines. It's the same idea, shooting people, Marines, Army. I never really thought of the Navy. I never really thought of the Coast Guard. It's always just those two most of the time. And then high school rolled around, and I was thinking Army still, and then Coast Guard kind of came to mind. The recruiter was at, the freaking cafeteria, table set, pamphlets everywhere, and he had a pamphlet like what we do on an average day. We stop pirates, we capture drugs, we defend the coasts, we scout, we do this, we do that. All sorts of crazy stuff. And I was like, you know what? The Coast Guard sounds pretty awesome. It's not what I thought it would be, just a bunch of slack asses. No. It actually sounds cool, It's something I'd want to do. And then, I kind of shifted away from that. And then kind of was like leaning towards the Navy a little bit. And it didn't really pop in my head. Never thought about Air Force. Space Force was gone. That was gone. Gone. Never thought of Air Force. So, 2 years ago, it happened where, me and my mom, at the beginning of the year, we sat down at the kitchen table, computer open, notebook in her hands with the pencil. She tells me that we're going to be looking at every single military branch, every single job. We're going to be looking at each individual job, every military branch, and we're going to find out what tickles your fancy. What interests you? Does this interest you? Is this cool? Do you want to do this? Do you not want to do this? We went through every one of them. And none of them really grasped me. None of them really took my interest that much. And before all that, she talked about special forces. When I was little, she'd always talk about the special forces and how they were like the top of the top. Highly intelligent, highly strong, highly advanced. And she's like, no one does what they do. They're so cool, and they're so, they're just so, critical. And what they do, everything they do is just so, pinpointed, everything. They're just there, and they're just, awesome. They execute the most top-secret operations ever. They do all this crazy stuff, She kept going on and on. I thought to myself, I'll never be a part of that. I will never have what it takes to become special forces, special operations. Nothing. I wouldn't have any of that. So as the months go by, I should say, she keeps looking through the jobs. Nothing really tickled my fancy. There was always religious program specialist. That kind of made me want to go, Well, the thing is I'm a devout Roman Catholic. I have a very strong relationship with Jesus. And, I don't know if I want to be a priest. So I thought, religious program specialist, that's the way to go, right? You're helping people seek faith, seek Jesus, You're helping them out with depression, anxiety. You're helping them get through life, have faith, have hope. That's what you're doing. And then you look more into it, and you're like, okay, I'm going to have to help people. Like, I'm going to have to help the chaplain, whoever the chaplain is, whatever religion he belongs to. I'm going to have to help him with a religious service, You're going to have to help him with, the Jewish worship service, or the Islamic worship service, or the Hindu worship service, or the Buddhism worship service. You're going to have to help him with anything. Kind of thought to myself, would Jesus really want me doing that? So I kind of just stopped. And then you get hit with the paperwork. You see, I'm not a guy who focuses on money. I'm not a guy who focuses on, like, oh, this pays well, I'm going to do it. No, I don't focus on that. I focus on, does this give me fulfillment? Does this give me purpose? What does this contribute to my life? Is this awesome? Will this break me? Or will this build me, What will this do? What effect will this job have for me? So I kind of didn't want to do that. Ever since I heard of the paperwork, I didn't really want to do that. And then you also had, so there's two types of RPs, religious program specialists. There's two types. You have the type where you're the guy helping people out, and you're the type who, like, protects the chaplain. That's pretty cool. Paperwork, I don't really want to do that. And then helping the other religions, I don't know how I feel about that. Then there's damage control. You're the handyman of the Navy. So at this point, we're basically leaning towards the Navy at this point. So it was full on Navy. So I thought damage control would be pretty cool. I mean, you're the handyman of the Navy. You're the firefighter. You're always putting out fires and repairing things. And ever since I got my car, I started repairing things. And, I started, like, I enjoyed fixing my car and repairing and, dealing with whatever it came with, And then the months would go by, and I would, like, lose focus, and I wouldn't really care as much. I wasn't passionate about this yet. Didn't really care. Didn't really give too much thought about it. I knew I was going to go in. I knew I was going to do that. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. That's the thing. And, she comes at me and she says, like, I always do the work. I always do my research. I always research things for you. I always take time out of my life to help you find a job that you would be interested in. And you never seem to do that. You always seem to be in your room doing whatever. You don't really care about this as much as I do. And I'm not even the one going in the Navy. You are. I'm not the one going into the military. You are. Why am I taking the time out of my life to help you when you don't even want to do that? She gave that little speech to me, It's kind of like, what? Fine. Went in my room. On that bed right there. It's where I found out what I wanted to do, I went to the Navy.com or whatever, I looked up the website. Figured out, I searched up Navy diver. Typed it up, looked at it. I said to myself, this is what I want to do. This is it. This is it. Right here. This is so cool looking. You're diving down in the ocean. You're repairing the ship, rescuing people. You're blowing stuff up. You're salvaging things. And you're doing, get this, you're doing special operations. You're doing special operations. That's what you would be doing. I looked at that and I found out it was Spec Ops. It's part of the elite. It's part of that top of the top, that impossible barrier that I never thought I'd ever reach. it was part of that little plane of existence that I'd never get to see. I was always here. I was never spec ops. I was never the big dogs. Never reached that point. Never, ever. Not happening. So I go to my mom in the living room, tell her, hey, I think I want to be a Navy diver. She says, okay. And then this year comes. This year rolls around. February of this year. First time I ever talked to a recruiter. He kind of breaks stuff down for me, gives me into the process of enlisting and whatever. Basically, he gives me my ASVAB date, May 29th. That's when I would take my ASVAB. And I'm going to say this right now. This was the worst part of it all. And I don't even care who you are watching this. I don't care how easy it was for you. I don't care if you didn't even study and you got like an 84 or some crap. Dude, I do not care. This was by far the hardest and most grueling part of the entire process. You see, most people, they take this test and they don't study for it. They don't do anything for it. They don't prepare. You know, most people, they don't really care about their country. I mean, I shouldn't have said that, but like, you know what I'm saying? They don't care too much. They just want to go in. So, they take the test. Whatever. There's the test. And they get what they get. And then they're like, okay, I guess I'll do this job. That's not how I walked into this. I walked in, looked up my score I needed to get. Give me a sec here. Yeah. I still have it. I still have this. If you're studying for the ASVAB, you better pick up a copy of this. So, I needed to get, give me a sec. What I needed to get, golly, man. I needed to get, basically, like a 154 on this ASVAB. You know, I needed to, the way this works, it's so difficult. It's so hard to comprehend if you're not locked in, you know. So, how this works is there's two types of like grading. There's like, okay, you got like a 80. That's a good score. You got a 60. That's a decent score, you know. But then you got, so like there's different parts of the ASVAB. You have mechanical comprehension. Yeah, you got like mechanical comprehension, mathematics knowledge, math knowledge, word knowledge, arithmetic reasoning, general science. There's your 5, right? There's your 5. That's like the main ones, kind of, except the general science. The 4 that require like English skills and mathematics knowledge, those are like your main ones. Those kind of determine where you're going to score. The rest are just job placement. So, along with that, you have general science, which I already discussed. You also have assembling objects. You have auto and shop information, mechanical comprehension, shop information, and then you have electronics information. So you have 10 little subtests and one giant 3-hour long test. And I walked in there knowing that I had to get that score. I had to get it. I had to get it, dude. I had to freaking get it. So we did whatever it took. The second we came home, me and my mom, right? We ended up spending $100 on a study guide for Kaplan. Now, if you're studying for the ASVAB, get Kaplan, pay for it. Really breaks down math and stuff, you know. It really helps with studying. So, right after I stepped out of that recruiter's office, my life changed completely. I don't mean that lightly. I was suffering every day. I was in that closet. I transformed that little closet into like a little like freaking like hermit hole. You know what I'm saying? I was in there, door closed. I had like my freaking like my TV tray with my little tablet there, a notebook. And I would click on the videos, write down the topic. Okay, we're going to be learning about absolute value. We're going to write down what that means. And then we're going to pause and we're going to do this problem. We're going to write down that problem and see what I get. And then we're going to pause the video and see what they got and how did they get that. That was like every day, almost every day. In that room, like an hour or two a day, just like studying. And I got so sick of math, so I switched to paragraph comprehension, you know. And it just sucks. It sucks so freaking bad. But then you discover like how bad do you want it, you know. Like my mom was like, she said like, don't shoot for that score for diver, shoot for like the stars, man. Get like the top score that you can get. So that's what I did. I shot for the top score that I could get. I put the work in, as much work as I wanted to. I went in, you know, I got a 64 on that ASVAB, which was enough for diver. I was happy about that. Now, the thing about this ASVAB was I had a balance. My life, junior year, I'm telling you right now, junior year of high school was one of the worst years ever. One of the worst years I ever had in my life because of how grueling it was. I had to study the ASVAB while balancing schoolwork, work, friends, and training. Now, I didn't bring this up, but sometime in March, my recruiter reaches out to me saying, hey, I got these spec war guys in the Middletown YMCA, and they want to talk with you. And, you know, I was like, they want you to come Wednesday. So, you know, I went over there Wednesday. You know, I got on the group chat, and I texted them like, hey, where are we meeting? And they said pool. Just pool. So I walk in there, and I was so lost. I couldn't figure out where I was supposed to go. And I found the locker room. And then I found the pool entrance somehow. It's a maze, dude. That YMCA is a maze. And I see like two dudes. These two big dudes, like one of them's got a beard, and the other one's like Asian, has a mustache, with hair. They're both American. So I walk up to them, and they shake my hand. I felt like such an outsider. Like I shouldn't really belong here. I don't know if they even want me here. So then, you know, they teach me combat side stroke. And it was just awesome. Learning combat side stroke, watching him do it. On like, this is the first time, you know, they've ever done this. You know, now that I've been in this thing, I've been doing this since like May of this year, and now it's like July, like late, almost August. So I've been doing this for quite a while. I've seen people come and go, whether that's like, you know, they're dropping out, they're quitting, they don't want to do it anymore, so they just leave, or they just ship out. But I've been seeing a lot of new people come in, and they haven't taken the time to teach me combat side stroke. You know, these instructors, they haven't taught them how to do combat side stroke. They just kind of like let them jump in. Like, okay, you're taking a PST. You're going to be swimming 500 yards. Try to do combat side stroke. Just try. And you know, like, I think I was shed a lot of mercy on my first day learning combat side stroke, and he really broke it down And, I figured it out kind of fast. And then I'd always do it a certain way where I would kick, glide. So I'd kick, pull, glide. So this hand would be gliding out. So I'd glide and I'd scoop, come up for air. Kick, pull, glide. Scoop, come up for air. I've been doing that forever because then my next time going there was a new instructor there. And I remember these words clearly. Like, he saw me doing combat side stroke. Like, I did a PST, did the full 10, And he's like, stop bobbing your fucking head. And he's like, the second you kick, you should be pulling like this. So then after he told me that, I just kind of did that the entire time. Until my good friend, until he showed me otherwise. I was training with him and our other friends, and, he kind of put me off to the side and just, told me, you should kick, and that kick should be your glide. And then you do pull, pull, kick, glide. Pull, pull, kick, glide. Pull, pull, kick, glide. Because now you have these two pulls, and you add in the kick. That glide is going to be fantastic. You're going to be gliding, chopping through the water. And once you lose momentum, pull, pull, kick, glide. I didn't really like the way he did that. So I kind of stuck with the way I've always been doing it. And then one PST, I changed it up. I'm like, screw it. I'm going to do it the way that guy told me to do it. And I got the best time yet. I had my best time yet. It was like a 10:45, I think. It was a very good day. But, yeah. And that ASVAB was horrible, I was wanting to get into the dive program. I was wanting to get contracted. And there's 3 steps to getting contracted. The first step is ASVAB. You take this ASVAB first. Then, after that, you go through MEPS. This is usually how this works. How this works is you take the ASVAB, go through MEPS, and then after you go through MEPS, you swear in. Now you're in the delayed entry program. Now you're in this program where you can switch jobs, do whatever, and you're gonna you get your ship date. Okay, you're gonna be shipping out May 27th. Okay, cool. So, yeah. And I remember very clearly how after this ASVAB, how it went. We then went to MEPS, and the first night is you're in the hotel room, and you kind of have you don't have that much time. You're supposed to be going to bed at 10 o'clock. So the first day, you're relaxing, you're getting ready, You're preparing yourself for MEPS. There's 2 types of people. There's the people enlisting in the delayed entry program, and then you have people shipping out. They're leaving. They're going. That's going to be me in a year from now. That scares me. But, I met a guy while at MEPS at the hotel. He told me he wants to do SWCC, Special Warfare Combat Crewman. This kid was a nerdy, chubby kid. He had glasses, teeth are like death, kind of broken teeth a little bit, kind of chubby, curly hair. Kind of looked like he didn't belong. He's like, I don't want to do SWCC. I want to be doing that, shooting the guns and stuff. Okay, have you ever heard of a PST before? I kind of was questioning him a little bit, and then we went to the workout room, this dinky little gym that they have in the hotel. This was a fancy hotel, by far the fanciest hotel I've ever been in. And they have a very dinky gym. But nonetheless, I kind of was talking to him about stuff, and he had no idea how to lift, no idea how to do anything. So I kind of had to start from scratch and had to teach him how to do curls and stuff, the usual stuff. And then MEPS rolls around. The actual MEPS, you get on the bus. And in my head, I wasn't worried about the medical stuff at all. I was worried about this ASVAB. You see, I took the PICAT. Now, what the PICAT is you can either take it in the recruiter's office or you can take it at home. And after you take the PICAT, you then go to MEPS and you have to take a verification test. It's a shortened version of the ASVAB. It's only like 30 questions, and it goes through like the previous questions that you answered right on the ASVAB. And like if you get like, you can't get too many wrong and you can't get too many right. You have to get in that sweet spot. And so, I made sure, I kind of had it in my head, like I got to prepare in my head, like, hey, you got to treat this like you're taking the ASVAB all over again. And, that kind of didn't go so well. This is the start of summer. I took the ASVAB right when school dropped out. So I had to take the ASVAB again. Not again, but I had to take the verification ASVAB. And like the day when you were going to the hotel room, the driver tells you, like, make sure you drink a lot of water because the first thing you're going to be doing is pissing in a cup. Right after that, you're going to be checking your vision. You're going to be checking this. Whatever you do, don't go in the shower. You're going to get water in your ears. They're going to inspect your ears. You're going to say you got a problem. That's why you don't take a shower. Don't go in that pool. Don't go in the gym. You're going to pull something. You're going to get hurt. And you can't get into the late entry program. You can't get enlisted. You can't ship out. So what he was saying was kind of true. I made sure not to take a shower. Made sure not to do anything stupid. And then yeah. And then like that night, my roommate, he was going into the Navy. He was shipping out as a culinary specialist. And like I come into the hotel room with my key card, open the door. This dude's staying up. Lights are all off. He's sitting in his bed. He's watching like NBA YouTube videos. I'm in there. I'm hearing like LeBron James shot 300-something 3-point shots, and he only made blankety blank of them. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? You gotta go to bed. And like he's on the phone with his girlfriend and talking and stuff. Turn his TV on, and this dude's like saying, I'm gonna stay up all night. Mind you, he's shipping out. So he's going on the bus to boot camp, and they're gonna be yelling at him, get off my bus! So he's got to deal with all that. And he's trying to pull an all-nighter tonight. I thought this dude was insane. But I ended up going to sleep. So, on the bus, I'm not even joking, we ate breakfast. Whatever. Shitty breakfast. Super shitty. Hated it. Got on the bus. I kid you not, I was on that bus with my Kaplan thing on my phone. Studying, looking at the flashcards, taking quizzes, little mini quizzes. We're going to do 10 questions of math. 10 questions. You can't use a calculator on the ASVAB, so like it's really not that easy. For those wondering. But yeah, I was on that bus. Taking quizzes, taking this, taking that, everything. Mentally like preparing myself. And you get off the bus and they line you up out in the sidewalk into the building. And like, okay, make sure you got your ID and your social security card. So we walk in there. It's like a little process. And, they check your bag and everything. Make sure you don't have any weapons. Make sure you don't have any contraband. Then you walk in there and then you line up. And it's kind of like a maze almost. Like I went into the medical room. They're like, okay, make sure you go into the medical room. And then afterwards, like, and then like I kind of got lost. And so like, okay, are you taking the ASVAB? Taking the verification? I'm like, yeah, I need to take the verification. And so I took the verification. Now I had a lot of water in my system. So I took the verification test. Very freaking nervous. And then it jumps me into the actual ASVAB. So I had to take the ASVAB all over again. And I ended up getting a 53. I had to pause my test to go pee, but I got a 53 the second that thing was printed out. I checked my mechanical comprehension. That thing was a 49. It had to be a 51. If it's a below a 51, you can't do anything special ops. So I already knew I fucked up. I already knew right off the bat. So I was pissed. So I did every little thing. The vision, I got 20/20 vision, good hearing. I don't have any drugs, whatever. I went through blood drawn, physical done, you know. I'm not going to tell you about the physical, but yeah. Did all the process. And then you go into your liaison or whatever they call it. You know, each little office, Marines, Army, Navy, Air Force, Army, National Guard, Coast Guard, Space Force, you know. So I go into Navy, and, you know, the dude in the little desk with the thing over the visor and the little square thing and sliding the paper or whatever, asked me a question: you ever been affiliated with the police? Ever moved out of the country? Do you know any friends outside of the country? You know, just the list. And then after that, you go into the recruiter's office. So there's a guy in the back, and he has like this big freaking computer, and he's like looking through the list and everything. And you know, I told him, listen, I know that I don't have the scores for diver, and I understand that. I'm not swearing in until I can retake this ASVAB and get the scores I need to become a diver. And so he's like, yeah, you can't really do diver. And I said, is there any way you can get like a waiver for me to help me get through and how we go through and how we become a diver? And he's like, sure, I'll try. Let me check. I need you to step out the office for a minute. So I step out of the office, and, you know, I get a call from my petty officer. Not my, yeah, no, my chief. I think I call my mom. I tell her what's going on. And, you know, obviously she's like, oh no, this sucks. This is bad. You know, and then I get a text from my chief. And then I get a text from him saying, like, that you got to swear in first. You have to swear in, and like they were trying to like help me out. They saw this potential in me, and they really wanted to help me out. And so they told me, like, you need to go in and try to, swear in as a job, get into the job, swear in, and once you swear in, you can retake the ASVAB at some point in time, and then you can, that scores match up, you can do diver, and you can switch your job just like that. So I said, okay. And then, you know, they were looking for jobs for me, and I had to wait out in the office. And I saw the SWIC kid again, you know, the guy with the glasses and stuff. I saw him again. I talked to him, and he says, well, it turns out I'm colorblind, so I can't really do SWIC, so now I'm doing machinist mate. And then he looks at me like, what about you? And I told him, like, yeah, I didn't get the right score, so now I have to retake the ASVAB. And he's like, okay, that's okay. You can always do a different job. I'm like, no, fuck that. Fuck that. No. I'm not doing that. I am retaking this test, and I'm going to become a Navy diver. There's no other way around this. I don't want to settle for less. I want to become a Navy diver. And so, I kind of just like set the tone there. And I wasn't gonna switch my job just like that for nobody. So I had to swear in as a religious program specialist, which, I was kind of fine. But then I kind of like was bummed because like, okay, it seems like you're kind of just handing out this job for anybody now. Like if they got like a bad score or whatever, I feel like, because like you walk around, there's people that, yeah, I'm going to be an RP. And it's like, you don't look like you've ever been in church before, Not to judge anybody, but like, it's just like, you've got, like, I pictured this job to be a little bit more like serious, and it's like I feel like they're just handing this job out to anybody. So I swore in, and they gave me my date to retake the ASVAB. So now I'm in the delayed entry program, and now I had to take it July 21st. So this process, I took the ASVAB, went through MEPS. I passed the PST on the third try. Out of everything, I thought the PST was going to be the hardest thing to achieve. Turns out that was the first thing I ever achieved before I even took that ASVAB. On the third PST, I passed it. All passing scores. Minimum scores. Not elevated, just minimum. But I passed it on the third try. And I was very happy about that. But now I feel like I'm way more behind than anybody because, like, I thought people were going to look at me and say, you still have to retake your ASVAB? What? And I remember I'd always go to my Spec War group, and every training day I'd turn to everybody. Would you go on your ASVAB? Would you go on your ASVAB? Would you go on your ASVAB? I always talk to everybody. And like, I'm scared of the ASVAB. I'm scared to take it. And I'm like, don't be scared. It's bullshit. It's just a bunch of questions that they ask you. I mean, it's really nothing special. It's really not that hard. I'm like, I don't know, man. It's pretty hard to me. I got a 35 on my practice test. And I'm like, okay. Just keep studying, I guess. Study a little bit harder. And, I'd always make an excuse. And, like, there was one day we ran 4 miles. And you had to maintain pace with the instructor. And I was falling behind. And then another instructor, my petty officer, came by. And he's like, come on, you got to keep going. And I was like, dude, I can't. If I got out of this ASVAB easier, I would have been able to do that. I would have been able to train more and train harder before. But, I got to study this ASVAB, it kind of just sucks. And he's like, that's okay. Just keep going. Just keep running. Don't stop. So I always make an excuse, like, I have to study for this ASVAB. I got to study for the ASVAB. So then, now I'm in the program. I'm in the delayed entry program. And then, this summer was really busy, After getting a 64 on the ASVAB my first time, I went to ROTC camp, and then I went to California to see all my friends. And then after that, kind of just didn't really study. I was having way too much fun with my friends, meeting new people and everything. I had a lot of time on my hands, but I always used it to just, hang out with my friends and stuff. I never really focused hard on this ASVAB like I did before. And then here I am. I had to take it July 21st, and my mom was like, hey, man, if you have some downtime, just make sure you study for this ASVAB. Make sure you, get some alone time. So now I'm going to Colorado. Now I have to go to Colorado, and, my mom's like, listen, if you get downtime, make sure you study. You get away from your friends, you can study, do whatever. I'm like, okay. So we get on the plane. Plane takes off. And then when the plane lands, I get my internet back, turn off airplane mode, and yeah. Get back on the internet. I look at my text message and I get a text from my mom saying, "Hey, video call me right now. Video call me right now and have your friend record the video." So I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess I'll do this. I guess I'll have to go on the call. I don't know. This is weird. What's going on? Why a video call? Out of everything, what's going on?" So I get on the phone, and my mom proceeds to tell me that I have the dive contract and that I'm going to be a diver. And I have no idea how this happened. Absolutely no idea how this worked at all. I don't know where it came from. I don't know how that happened. But I got the dive contract. Ship date changed. July 27th, 2027. And now I'm a new man. Everything. And I trained harder. And now I'm like prepared. I was so happy. I was crying. Like, cause now all this heavy weight just like got off my chest. Now I don't have to bother with that stupid test. I won't have to take it for a long time, maybe even ever. I won't have to take it forever. Never again. Hopefully never again. But yeah. That test is long gone. And now I don't have to focus on it ever. I'll never have to focus on that test. So then, California was awesome because I never had to focus on the ASVAB. I never had to get through anything. And now, after that, and after all this training and stuff, now I'm in the void. They call it the void because it feels long. And it's what the group calls it. I have a book here that my instructor, kind of like showed off. And then I printed it out and I got it at the UPS store. Printed it off. And then they talked about the void. They discussed this void. And they say in the void you can forget your why. You forget the reason why you even started doing this. And so I made sure to write down why I want to do it so bad. And I had to brainstorm okay, I gotta figure this out. This is why I want to do it, and this is why I'm just drawn to being a Navy diver. And now I'm stuck here for a year. Ever since I contemplated being in the military and thinking on it for a long time, and always be in my head, every birthday I'd always remind myself, man, 6 more years I'm gonna go into the military. 5 more years I'm going in the military, and it wouldn't be a positive thing. It'd be a negative thing. Because I always had a hard time of letting all this go. It was so hard. It's so difficult to detach from what you have, to let go of your mom and your dad and your family and friends and your old life and to start a new one, It's hard. And it's not meant for everyone. It's very, very difficult, even now. it's like, I know what my mom's doing. She wants to have these opportunities with me where she can make more memories. We'll go on more nature walks. Let's watch a movie. Let's go get ice cream. Let's go hang out. Let's do something. Let's go on one last family vacation. We don't go on many vacations, but she's like, let's go on this vacation. And then like you start realizing, man, this is gonna suck. It's bittersweet, is what it really is. This is so bittersweet, what I'm doing. It's bitter because I had to leave home. I could definitely die. And it's just really difficult to let go and to start over. And doing this is really difficult. But the sweet part is I'm doing what I love. I'm achieving my mom's dream. My mom wants me to be successful. And she wants me to be happy, which is more important than being successful. Because happy is success. And to me, happy is becoming a diver. So it's bittersweet. It's just like Jesus. Dying, suffering, excruciating, unbearable pain that he really didn't have to go through. He didn't have to do that. He died, nails, crown of thorns pierced into his skull, into his brain, nails pierced in his hands and in his feet, stab wounds from the side. On his back were just like slashes, ripped skin, tears into the follicles, just excruciating pain. But the sweet part is he did it all for us. He became the ultimate sacrifice. And he paved our way to salvation. He connected that path to God. He showed us how much he loves us by going there and paying the ultimate price for us, so that we may be forgiven, and that we may be purified with his precious blood that he shed for us, making the ultimate sacrifice. It's bittersweet like that. And every time I do the training, every time we do like a circuit, 25 push-ups, 25 floater kicks, 25 squats, 10 pull-ups or whatever your pull-up minimum, we did that like 5 times. And then I'd always think about Jesus and how he suffered. And it's awesome to see that God, the almighty being, sat down and suffered. And then he also led. And so by him suffering, he could teach me how to suffer. And he could teach me how to offer it up. So I could offer it up to him and do it for him instead of just myself or my training. I could do it for a much greater purpose. So seeing him suffer inspires me to just keep on going, because he never gave up on us. So why should I ever give up on him? That phone call saying that I got the dive contract, it had to be miraculous, because my prayers were never asking God to make me a diver. It was always, I always told him, hey, right now I'm interested in becoming a Navy diver, and I don't know if you really want me to do this, but this is what I want to do. So, I asked for discernment. I asked that you help me out and make the plans for me, see what I can do. And as of right now, he wants me to chase my dreams. Or maybe he did that all alone, because you gotta think, when I was alone, doing the research alone, looking into jobs by myself, Diver popped up into my head. And when I got the contract, that just happened like out of nowhere, unexpectedly. There's a contract. No more ASVAB. You don't have to take it. It's right there. There it is. So yeah. Miraculous. Exceedingly miraculous. And this just goes to show you that you could literally do anything. You have to think outside the box, Don't just limit yourself to doing things that you think you can do. Do things that you think are impossible. Do things that you think are awesome. Okay, never chase money. Okay, because when you die, your money isn't going to come up to heaven with you. Your money's going to stay down at the bottom, and people are going to take it. So don't do something for money. Don't you ever do anything for money. Money is not that powerful. Okay? It is not eternal. Money, you become a slave to it. You chase it. You end up chasing your whole life, and you'll never be fulfilled because you gotta keep chasing and chasing the next high. Now I gotta make 300K. Now I gotta make 400K. You don't stop. You don't stop thinking. You don't stop thinking about money and how I can get it faster and what can I do to get more money? What can I do to get more money? That idea starts to play in your head, and then it happens to where you're doing evil stuff to get that money. Really evil stuff. It leads to a path that you don't want to follow. So whatever you do, don't do something with the wrong motivation. Do something that you can see yourself doing. Pray about it exceedingly. Every day almost pray about it. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you desire of me? How can I serve you? What is it that you seek in me? All the time. He'll show you. He will show you. Okay? Don't do what you want to do. You only have one shot in this life. This life is temporary. It will fade away. You will die. Eventually, you will die. Not too many people think about that, but I do. I think about it all the time, to the point where I'm not even afraid anymore. If I die, I die. And that's the mindset you kind of have to have going into this. If I die, I died doing what I wanted to do. Don't cry at my funeral. Don't be sad. I died doing what I love. And that's what means the most to me. I never suffered. I never went through any pain. I never hated what I did. Be happy that I lived the life that I lived. That is what you need to do. Do something that you're proud of. Whatever it is, art, music, passion, poetry, writing, fishing, swimming, electronic maintenance, damage control, hull technician, nuclear weapon system manager, maintenance operator, SEAL, SWCC, EOD, air rescue, search and rescue, medical technician, SOIDC, dive medical technician, and a Navy diver. whatever you do, put your heart into it. Because you only have one heart, and you only have one life. Why waste it doing something that you don't want to do? Why waste this life? That's all I got. Rock out.